Hi, I'm Brent Brehant, Eastern Technical Field Trainer for HTP, and today I'm with our new boiler line. It's called the Elite XL. It's a commercial boiler line. It has 6 ranges and sizes from 400,000 up to 2 million BTUs. So today I'm going to show you how to do some combustion testing and some gas pressure testing for these units. Today we're going to show you how to do this on a 1 million BTU version. It has a slightly different gas valve than the 650 and below, but we're also going to show you how to adjust that unit too. Before we get started on the actual adjustments, there's a few things we're going to need. The first thing, and the most important thing we're going to need for combustion testing is a recently calibrated gas analyzer. The gas analyzer is going to need to read CO and CO2 to get us our calculations for us. The next tool that we're going to need is a manometer. This happens to be a dual port manometer that you can read inlet and outlet at the same time, but a good calibrated manometer is what you're going to need to get some gas pressure information. And then we'll need a couple of tools to access our ports. So first thing we're going to need is just a flat screwdriver that we can access our ports for our gas pressure testing. And if we need to make some adjustments, we're going to need a Torx 40 to do our low fire or our manifold pressure testing. And then we're going to need a 3mm Allen to make some adjustments to the throttle and high fire if we need. So that being said, let's get started on the combustion testing. Okay, we're going to get going here on our combustion testing. First thing we want to do is make sure that we have a port access into our exhaust. So I have a hole drilled in there, I have my adapter in there, and I have my wand ready to go and ready to insert. Before I get this in there, I want to make sure that I have the boiler on and running before we get that in there. So we're going to go ahead and get that going too. All right, well, we're going to get ready to do our combustion testing. So the first thing we want to get a look at is some incoming gas pressure numbers. We'll generally do a lockup test, meaning we'll fire the unit up, let it light off, and then turn it off and see where our gas pressure goes, just to make sure our meter or our regulator are staying within our parameters. So our gas pressure range for these units is 3.5 to 14 inches of gas pressure. That's what we're looking for. So down here is our inlet gas pressure tap. So if you were to follow the gas line into the boiler, you'll always see a tap on the inlet side of the gas valve. So we'll want to shut it off. And we'll want to open it a few turns just to access it. And then we'll put our manometer tube right over that, and that should give us our inlet gas pressure. And then we also want to look at manifold pressure or outlet pressure on these valves. They typically run in the negative, so you need a really good manometer to see these, but this will certainly help you in the setup of this. So same deal, slot-headed screwdriver, a couple turns, get inside of there, and then we're just going to put this right over that. Now I can switch between my inlet gas pressure and my outlet gas pressure, and it'll give me all the information I need on the screen. So right now we have 7.64 inches of inlet gas pressure, and we'll read the manifold pressure as it's running. I also have my manometer on and ready to go, about ready to put it in the vent once we fire it up. So from this point now we can take a look at our lockup test on our gas pressure. Okay, with every one of our appliances we have what we call test mode. So test mode allows you to override what's going on in the system and fire up the boiler. So another thing that's very important when you're doing your combustion testing is you need to be able to disperse the load, meaning right now we have 1 million BTUs, so we certainly need to be able to get rid of that energy because we're going to need to run it in high fire for a little bit just to get our readings, and if we have to make an adjustment, we just need a little bit of time for our analyzer to pick that up, make sure that we've made the right adjustments. So again, a couple things. You need the analyzer, the manometer, a couple tools, and you need certainly a good place to dump the energy. Okay? We also, like I mentioned, have test mode in all of our screens, which allows the users to fire up the burner, and it will hold it steady for you, meaning if you want to run it in low fire, you can. Up in high fire, you can put it anywhere you want it. So for combustion testing, what we look for is low fire and high fire, minimum, maximum, and everything else in between is generally pretty good. So in this particular model, we'll get it going. Hit the on. Initiate test mode. You'll hear the fan come on. And the first thing we're going to do is take a look at our gas pressure drop in our manometer and make sure our lines are sized properly for both pressure and volume. It's going to do a little bit of a pre-purge on the fan, clear everything out of there, and we should be cleared for ignition. Of course, you can see your fan speeds on here. Now, when this thing lights initially, it'll stay at ignition speed, whatever number that may be. Take a look at our manometer, just a slight drop in manometer, which is really good. Now what I want to do is test my lockup on my regulators. So if I turn that back off, you'll see your inlet gas pressure start to climb where it was initially. We want to make sure, again, we're in that range of 3.5 to 14 inches of gas pressure, inches of water column. Okay, looks good to me. So let's initiate test mode again. Fire this up. You'll hear the fan come down, do a little bit of a purge, and then we should have ignition. Also on the screen are some important pieces of information. Your minimum and maximum fan speed. So low fire is going to be 1,880 RPM, and high fire is going to be right around 9,000. So we're going to take a look at it in low fire, make some adjustments if we need to, and then we'll fire it up to high fire and see where we're at there. Looks like we have ignition. We have a pressure drop on our gas valve, which tells me the valve is opening. We have flame on. We have fan speed right around 2,500. So again, it'll just sort of hover at ignition speed until you kind of command it where to go. So we're going to get this down into low fire just by pushing the down button right on there into the minimum, where it will be 1,880 RPM. Then I can come back here and get this put back into the exhaust. Now, right on my analyzer, I should start to see some nice changes in combustion levels. So again, this is low fire, and inside the manual for natural gas, which is what we're running here, is going to be somewhere in the 8.5 to 10.5 range on CO2. Sorry, CO range is generally about under 40 parts per million in low fire and under 200 parts in high fire. So again, every manual lists that for the specific appliance and what it should be and what the range should be. So we're a little bit high, so I'd like to make some adjustments in low fire. So to do that, you're going to need a Torx 40. And then we're going to get onto the gas valve. This is our manifold pressure adjustment right here. This is a blind cover. This is more of a dust cap. Just keeps things out of there. So that comes out and gets out of your way. And then here we have the adjustment. So if you look really, really close, there is a positive and negative symbol on here. So, of course, if we want to go farther negative, then we're going to take a look at our manifold pressure and see where we're at. And it looks like we need to go a little bit farther negative on our combustion. So I'd like to bring this down just a little bit. So I'll just make a slight turn counterclockwise. And you should see a slight change in your manometer. And then hopefully we'll see a slight change in our CO2 reading. And see if we can bring this down just a little bit. We always want to give the analyzer time to get up the information in there, get us the correct stuff. So there it goes, made a little bit of a change. Sometimes it doesn't take too much, so you don't want to go too far. You always want to make some little adjustments at a time as you go. And see if we can bring this down just a little bit. So maybe we'll go a little bit more. It's got an auto off function. Helpful for your battery. Helpful for this video. Okay, so we're sitting at around negative 0.10, which is relatively normal for these size boilers. Let's see if we can bring it down just a little bit more. Generally what I'm shooting for is in the middle of the range somewhere, so maybe if I can get it down to 10% somewhere around there, I'd be certainly okay with it. Looks like we're at about 10.8. Coming down. So maybe just a little bit more. And we'll see where we end up with this. So again, sometimes the adjustments, you want to make sure you always give your analyzer a little time to calculate everything for you and get out the right information. And of course, what we're focused on here is our CO2 and our CO numbers. And of course, we're also going to take a look at some excess air values. So, 20, 30%, somewhere in that range is relatively good on the excess air is what we look for. And of course, this is going to come down 10.6. Very respectable on the CO2 range, but we're still going to see if we can come down just a little bit more. So again, I'm looking for more on the 10% range, so we'll just give that a little bit more. See if we can get a 0.13. And then we'll just watch this and it should just come down a little at a time for us. There we go. 10.3, 10.2, 10.1. So again, if I had this on and I noticed my numbers were really low, sometimes you're going to get a vibration out of the gas valve. And from there, you're going to want to go back towards positive. So again, this is going to give you all the information you're going to need along with your manometer to make sure that you get your adjustments right. So once you're satisfactory where you want to be in low fire, you can start to run this fan speed up. just use the up arrow. Gives you your max, which is going to be 9,000. It's going to get a little loud. A lot of power coming out of here right now. But we want to take a look at our high fire, our maximum combustion. There we go. We'll also take a look at our inlet gas pressure. Still within range, 3.5, 14 inches again. And then we'll take a good look at this. Now, if I wanted to make some adjustments in high fire, this is going to be done using the throttle screw. So just remember that does a maximum on the high fire, and it's a 3 millimeter Allen. So looks just a little bit high, so we're going to take this and come down a little bit. And again, just like on the offset, we have a minimum and a maximum. So it sort of tells you, but we're going to happen to go clockwise on this valve. And we're going to go a little minimum and see if we can bring that number down into the 10% range again. So we're just a little bit high on the CO. We'd like to see that under 200 parts per million. So right now we're just going to give it a little bit of a twist and try and shake it down a little bit. Now again, throttle screw is just like manifold pressure where, a little bit goes a long way sometimes. So just a little at a time. Let your analyzer soak up the information and get you the right data, and then make your adjustments accordingly. Well, what you don't want to do is go too far, and it's going to go out of control on you. So you want to make sure you just make small adjustments at a time. So it looks like we're bringing our parts per million down, and we're bringing our CO2 down. So we may go just a little bit more. See if we can bring that, just get it down around 10 and change what we saw in low fire. And we'll certainly be able to get our CO down under 200 parts per million. This is a fully modulating condensing boiler, 10-to-1 turn down. So again, we're looking at low fire and we're looking at high fire. And this will modulate anywhere in between there for us, depending on load. So here we go. We got 10.4. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. So we may just tweak that down just a little bit more just to show you an adjustment, right? So again, you just got to go a little at a time. If you go too far, then you end up got to go back the other way, and you always want to give this guy time to spit out the right information. That's why it's important to have a recently calibrated, accurate analyzer, because this is going to make the setup easy. So again, here we go, 10.2. We're way down under 200 parts per million, still coming down a little bit. We got excess air in the 36% range, which looks pretty good to me. This also will give you your flue temperatures and everything else. So we're running a cool flue, 98 degrees right now. So this is what makes these boilers so condensing and so efficient right here. So looks pretty good, 10.2, 137. So at this point we document them, print it out, give us all the information that we would need. And then we can finalize the test. Just bring it back down into the middle somewhere and see what you got too. So we can put it somewhere around 4,000, 3,500. Okay, it's back down in low fire, and we're going to take it out of test mode, and we shall end our test for today. And that's how you do a setup on the 1 million or 650 and above on the Enduro EX boiler. Okay, once we've got our combustion levels and gas pressures tested and we're happy with everything, there's just a few things we have to do to finalize our test on the Elite XL commercial boiler. Now again, this gas valve adjustment is for the 650 to the 1 million BTU. So there's three ranges, 650, 800, and 1 million. We also have an adjustment for the smaller versions, which we will show you in the future. Very similar process, but just a slightly different gas valve. So before we end this test, let's put everything back together, make sure all the ports are closed and everything that we are on is ready to go, and we'll be done. All right, so we're ready to end the test here, so we want to make sure that we're going to take our manometer tubes off here, make sure all the ports are closed up, put our caps back on the adjustments, and we should finalize the test here, okay? So we'll just pull this one off here. Just get in there and give this a few turns so it's tight. Same thing with this guy. Make sure the gas is off. Get in there and turn this down. There we go. And then we have two covers. And this will go over our throttle adjustment there, no particular way. Just goes on there like that. And then we have the manifold pressure cover. Back on there. Just like that. Okay, everything's back the way it was. Put the screen back in normal mode. And we have completed our testing on the Elite XL commercial boiler.